So, you want to hear the story of the time I slayed old Frustra the Destroyer, eh? Well, it all began when myself and my hunting party were making yet another regular expedition into the dangerous jungles of Kylodestin. We left the Gentlemen's Club that morning for a hunting lodge closer to our chosen hunting grounds, and set out at some 6 or so in the morning. We wandered for what felt like hours through the forests, doubling forwards and backwards through the trees, until there we stood, at the base of the range of Xylus, up in the mountains. From where we stood, we could see the outline of a cave, an empty cavern in the walls of the rock, with bones hanging from it from the unfortunate past adventurers who had traveled through these jungles. We were unsure if it was occupied or empty. How long these bones had been sitting here, they looked sun-bleached. So I hefted my gun and I shot a quail the size of a man, and hefting this quail, I launched it up onto the entrance of the cave. Moments later, we heard a rumbling roar, a great noise as some creature, this scaly beast, moved from its perch somewhere deeper inside the cave. It lumbered out, snapping up the quail in its great jaws, downing it in a single gulp, without so much as a single chewing motion. I looked to my party and nodded. We clearly knew that, should we decide to, we could open fire on this beast and bring it down in a matter of moments. But where would be the fun in that? So we turned, and at a dignified pace began to wander back towards the hunting lodge we had been staying at, drafting up plans for a great zoo to hold this creature like the oversized scaled chicken that it was. The details are a little hazy after that, but after a few days of wandering and planning, I found myself up north in Countsport. Now, Countsport is a den of thieves surrounded by more thieves, infamous for the constant raids on trading routes in the area. I had initially headed up in that direction to take care of some of this bandit problem, and with the intention of raising some funds for future expeditions and for this grand dragon-sized zoo. But as I was settling my differences with a man who made my acquaintance there, we heard the great flapping of wings. Moments later, fire began to rise up from the trees surrounding the town. This dragon seemed to have been following me. As it drew closer, the man I had been fighting, one Mr. Paxton Grandfather, and I turned to each other, nodded, and without a second thought, I lifted him in my arms and threw him at the beast. Yeet! The thud of his impact against its scaly hide was audible from some miles away where we stood. But my aim was unerring. He impacted, and as he clawed at its wings, I hefted my rifle for a shot. The battle would have taken a lesser man many hours, days even, to bring such a grand creature down. But for the combined might of myself and my allies, we brought the creature down in a matter of minutes.
Pew pew.
it hurtled towards the ground. And it was all we could do to evacuate as much of Countsport as we could before it was turned into a crater under the dragon's weight. But at last, as the dust cleared, I stood upon the dragon, victorious.
The group applauds you, absolutely amazed at your feats of heroism.
And tomorrow night I'll tell you the story of how the dragon came back from the dead and I killed it the second time.
They all look confused now.
But that's a story for tomorrow night.
They all kind of look worried amongst each other. What the fuck?